Have you ever noticed how poor background conditions never stop a great journalist from interviewing an influential leader or famous celebrity? Well, that's what happened with this interview. My amazing guest was on the road and stopped to honor our time together, and I am so grateful. I know you'll be thrilled by his inspiring message, even though you're also going to hear tables and chairs moving in the background. Pay close attention to the exact time the baby cries. It's the perfect foreshadowing for my guest's next statement. If you have trouble following the audio, be sure to join the Doctor's Mentor community. The video and transcript of the interview are available there.
Welcome to the Doctor's Mentor Show. If you believe that medicine is an industry and not a profession, if you enjoy submitting complex reimbursement claims, or you would do another residency just for fun, be advised, you're about to be offended. You should probably leave now.
All this talk about mentoring doctors is ridiculous. I thought doctors learned to do everything better than everyone else the first year of medical school. At least that's the way they act.
If you love assisting patients with vitality breakthroughs, if the right to practice medicine without interference is important, and you want expert tips for practice freedom and profits to support your epic life, welcome aboard and prepare to be blown away. The Doctor's Mentor Show starts now. Here's your host, Dr. Lori Barr.
Hey, it's Dr. Lori Barr, and I'm here for another episode of the Doctor's Mentor Show, and I am so excited to present to you the original medical mogul and America's favorite OBGYN. You know who I'm talking about, Dr. Draion Burch. Dr. Drai, so happy to have you with us.
Oh my God, Lori Barr, you know I love you. Thank you so much for having me on your show. This is going to be amazing.
Well, you know, when we met, I was just so impressed by you, and I started reading your books. This is the latest book that you have out, The Making of a Medical Mogul, Volume 1, that highlights the success of your students in your Medical Moguls Academy. But I've read your books, and they're amazing. And just the way that you communicate with patients and with lay people and with professionals, you come from the heart, from a very deep part of the heart, and you're so intuitive with people. That way you come from the heart, no matter who you're talking to, you're able to just intuitively know what they need and reach them at a very deep level. Is that something you learned, or is that something that came through the generations of wonderful love you got from your mother and grandmother?
Today's topic:
legacy.
Oh my God, it's all about family. So I grew up in southern Mississippi, a very, very close-knit family, a very religious family. So my dad is a preacher, a Baptist preacher, and I grew up in the church. So growing up in the church, you always had to be respectful to your elders. You know, I actually had to sit at a children's table to eat, right? I couldn't sit at the adult table, right? So a lot of tradition. So that actually taught me respect and dignity and empathy for people and compassion growing up in that kind of. So it's really, I would just say it was because of my God and family, how I was raised to be a certain way.
And you seem to have really taken those gifts that God blessed you with, and you've amplified those so that you help not only one-to-one with patients you see in your concierge medical practice now, but you're helping one-to-many through your Medical Mogul Academy and the doctors that you're helping get their message out. This path has not been easy for you. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how you went from being the starstruck boy who fascinated cardiology to the really distressed and overworked OBGYN and academics?
Oh my God, that's a long story, Dr. Lori. Are you ready for it? Are you really ready for that?
I'm ready.
So, you know, we all have dreams when we all have dreams of being doctors as little kids, right? When I was 6 years old, I said I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a healer. I wanted to change the world. So my grandmother used to clean houses for doctors, and she used to take me along with her. And I used to play with the doctor's kids' toys, right? Because we didn't have a lot. One day, one of her clients actually let me listen to my own heartbeat with his stethoscope. And that's when I fell in love. I always tell everyone I fell in love. And I actually did. I fell in love with the heart. I started studying anatomy and physiology. I started dissecting things like frogs and snakes. I'm a country boy, grew up in southern Mississippi, so I used to dissect animals. Actually growing up, right? I used to dissect animals, and my love for medicine grew. So when I got to medical school, I wanted to be a cardiologist because my love for the heart. I just thought the heart was so amazing, how it could just pump and bring life to everything. I'm like, wow, this is such an amazing organ. I've always loved this since I was 6 years old. However, I went on, your third and fourth year, you go on your rotations, and I went on the cardiology rotation, and people died. People died.
Right.
This is a lot of codes. I was like, this is not for me. And I never actually saw myself as the doctor that would diagnose someone like dying, right? So I'm a doctor at life. When I actually did OBGYN, I delivered my first baby, I cried. And I knew that was a sign that God was telling me that's what I was supposed to do. And I actually was like, I'm not going to do OBGYN. This is going to be worse, especially. I'm not doing it. I am not doing it. So I had in my mindset that I was not going to be an OBGYN. But as soon as that baby came out and cried for the first time, and the mother was crying, the family was crying, they gave me a big hug, I was like, oh, this is it. This is where I belong. It fell right into my lap, right? So as soon as that baby grasped and cried, I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to hear that sound all the time. I'm supposed to bring life into the world and be that, bringing life into the world. That's what I was supposed to do. Okay, so that's the OBGYN. Now, let's talk about academic medicine. So that's the fun part. Oh, you know how it is, doctors, when you actually find your purpose when it comes to your specialty, you're like, oh my God, this is it. Like, I love it. This is like radiology for you. It's so easy. You're like, oh, this is it. This is my thing. Like OBGYN was my thing. The patients were very easy, building relationships, just awesome. Awesome. Love it. Still love it. And one of my first jobs was at a big academic institution. Huge. I'm not going to tell you the name, but you can Google me and find it. But a huge academic institution, and I was managing 10 offices. I was doing like 15 to 20 deliveries a month, managing residents. And over the years, over and over again, I just got burnt out. After a 36-hour shift, being on call, I actually fell asleep driving home. And that was one of my first signs that I was not actually walking in my purpose. And I was like, God, what am I supposed to do? So you wanted me to be OBGYN. I surrendered and said yes to OBGYN. But am I supposed to give OBGYN to tell me, right? What am I supposed to do? But my friend, even my mother was like, Dre, what's going on? And I'm like, well, doctors are coming to me. They want me to teach them how to build a business. They want me to teach them how to do media. They want me to teach them, how to speak on stages, how to write books. I'm not sure about this. Should I do it? She's like, yeah, that's your gift. You're good at that stuff. So why don't you teach them? Mind you, when I was a little kid, they used to call me Money, Money, because I would tell adults how to make money. And I would get in trouble, right? I would get in trouble because I'm the child. And I'm not supposed to talk to adults in that kind of way. I would actually get in trouble for my gift when I was a little kid. Like, Dr. Lori, like, go out to the woods and get a switch. Like, that kind of trouble.
I've been switched before. I know what that feels like.
Yeah, that kind of trouble, right?
Yeah.
So I started coaching doctors on what they were supposed to do to get their brands and businesses built. Before you know it, after 51 doctors I had coached, I decided to start my own school, Medical Moguls Academy. And it was all because I was working in a stressed out environment in an academic institution who didn't really value me as a doctor, really only cared about their name and their brand. And I felt like more of a worker bee. And I had to have that moment where I fell asleep driving home. Like, God had to put me through that for me to reach where I am now. Because if I did not go to sleep and if I did not almost die, I would still be there hustling, trying to change the whole system, which is something that I could do there. But I would still be there trying to do it. So the moral of the story is listen to your heart. Listen to God. He's telling you what you need to do. Just open your eyes. And doctors, we love to sabotage because we're super perfect, right? We're like the most perfect things ever, right? We don't make any mistakes, right? We're super perfect. So a lot of times when God shows us things, he has to put us through a whole lot because we're hard-headed. We don't listen.
Yeah,
we got to go through a whole lot than a normal person.
We forget how to surrender. You used that word earlier. and surrendering and experiencing are something that gets hard after you've made a habit of stepping up into the leadership role and taking full responsibility for so long.
And it's not just surrendering, it's being vulnerable.
That's true.
It's being vulnerable too. Being vulnerable and like being able to cry, being able to feel again, right? So my emotions were gone away. Like I could go in a room and all of a sudden seeing the patient wasn't so joyful. I didn't have the smile and the personality anymore. And like, you know, my mother was like, I went home to see her for a vacation. So I used to take off for Thanksgiving holidays because, you know, that's like the busiest time for OBGYNs because of Valentine's Day. Everyone has sex on Valentine's Day. All the babies are born on Thanksgiving. So I knew this. So I would take off on Thanksgiving so I didn't have to bother with the baby rush. I was like, no. I had figured that out enough, right? You know, but I figured out what was going on. So I went home and my mother was like, I don't even recognize you. Who are you? You're so different. Where's your joy? Look at your eyes. Where's the spark for life? It had all gone working in this academic institution, you know, with the politics, Dr. Lord, with being junior faculty, having to do more work, but getting paid less to do that work, you know, doing research, teaching residents, you know, it was sitting on committees, several committees, managing all these, you know, I'm like, if I'm on one more committee meeting in the morning, they're like, you have to go to this committee meeting. M&M, there's always something going on. Colposcopy, path M&M, it's always something that you have to go through. And then you have to go to the resident stuff, their stuff. And then they have activities after hours. You have to go support them on their stuff. It was just a lot. I had no life for myself.
You said you went home and your mother kind of served as that mirror for you. Was it still hard to be honest with yourself that you were in that condition?
With my family, no. With my colleagues, yes. Because, once again, not being vulnerable. So I didn't want to be perceived as being weak, like a weak doctor. Like I wasn't good enough. Like I didn't have what it took to be a top OBGYN, right? So you're at this academic institution and, you know, in academics, sometimes the doctors think that we're better doctors than everybody else. Yeah. Like we do. It's kind of a thing. Like we're academic doctors. We know more than everybody else, right? So you didn't want to be perceived as being like the weak academic doctor and have your colleagues around you saying, oh my God, what's wrong with Dr. Dre? Like he can't cut it, right? He's not good enough to be here. So that's how I felt. And I used to internalize those feelings because I didn't want anyone to find out my big secret that I was really unhappy with being there, right? Because that's a big name and it's so prestigious. And people would say, oh, you're so lucky to be here. This is a great opportunity. But I didn't feel that way.
And like, did that cause guilt? Did you, being a religious person and especially being a preacher's son, do you think you bore more guilt for that than the average person, you know, as far as not being grateful for what God had already given you and not just sucking it up and dealing with it?
Yes, I felt so horrible. Like I felt so guilty, that I didn't even want to go inside the hospital. So guilty that I used to go to the doors of the hospital and be like super stressed out. Anxiety was set in because I'm like, I'm so lucky. Like I'm a doctor. I'm the American dream. Yeah. Like little kids look up to me. They're always coming to me. Oh my God, I want to be just like you. And I just smile and say, you can make it. You can be just like me. Like we're the American dream, right? Everyone dreams of being the doctor. Yeah. And I wasn't happy being the doctor. So I said, and I prayed about it. I was like, I would get on my knees and say, what is it, God? Please show me. What am I supposed to do? Do you want me to leave medicine? Do you not want me to leave medicine? What am I supposed to do? Like, I need to know. You know how it works. He never just tells you. It's always something.
Right. So actually, what you created for yourself is the best of both worlds. And you've taken all this expertise you have in OBGYN and your board certification there, and you've really become a media superstar across a variety of medias, shows that are audio shows, radio, podcasts, TV shows. You're great on stage. You're amazing with your Academy graduates. How much money did your Academy graduates make collectively this year?
So now they're at over $600,000.
And how many graduates did you have?
We had 21 from the Academy.
So 21 people generated an extra $600,000 either inside their medical practices that they optimized and really made aligned with their life purpose, or by doing things outside of the traditional medical practice, like getting sponsorships or being a brand representative, doing things like that. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's very accurate. We're so proud of them.
Oh, they're amazing.
We, as a company, we've made over $2 million. For the doctors have made over $2 million. All of my coaching clients, we just ran the numbers. It was like $2.2 million. So we're super excited to actually help them transition to their lifestyle of freedom, because I didn't want them to be like me, right? I didn't want them to be like me and are happy and have a secret. And I was kind of resenting medicine. So I found a way to fall in love again with medicine. I found a way to do that on my own terms. So now when I wake up, I'm like super excited.
Yeah. Talk about how you still see patients too.
Yes. So I do concierge GYN. So I take care of 8 patients. So I make more money seeing those 8 patients than I did seeing 30 patients a day, right? So I've done very well, like building a brand and building.
Is that 8 patients total per year?
8 patients per year. So we have, So I run membership medicine. So they have contracts with me. So they pay like a monthly retainer to retain me as a GYN doctor. So I'm on call 24 hours a day. Yes, I am. But I mean, my girls are super busy. They're on TV. So they're memorizing lines. They're on sets. So they only really bother me when it's like something that they really, really need, or they need to talk to me about something. So they're not like just going to call me just random, because they're just as busy as I am, which is great. So that's the kind of clients that you really want out there, doctors. You want people that are just as busy as you.
And that's really a key point.
So I love that about them. And
that's really a key point, both in your medical practice as a concierge doctor and also in your academy. You're quite selective in who you allow to get close to you as a patient or as a protege. And that is so smart and so difficult for doctors in the average practice to embrace. And you're saying, hey, wait a minute, pick the patients who serve you so that you can love serving them. Is that how do you get them to change that mindset?
Absolutely. So it's different. So my clients that I have in my GYN practice, they're used to paying money for the best. So when you position yourself in the world as being the best, and I know there's other OBGYNs that are way better than me, right? Or publications, I know that. When you position yourself as the best in the country, then you can command the best prices.
That's right. And it's about finding your niche too, right?
Exactly. So I knew that actually my first client was so crazy. Like I was at this award show called the Met Ball, and I was there with one of my best friends who's a stylist for all these celebrities. So his intern got sick. He called me the day before. He's like, Dre, can you fly to New York and help me dress my girls for the Met Ball? I'm like, all right, yeah, that's fine, whatever. I didn't have anything to do. I flew from LA to New York to help him. So all he wanted me to do was like go to all these stores like Prada and Diane Bird and Versace and like get all these gowns. That's all I had to do. Get all these gowns. It was kind of a little difficult, but I managed it in New York in an Uber getting all these gowns. It was a lot. So, the dresses are bigger than me basically, and I can't see anything. And I'm running down the sidewalk because I'm on a deadline. So you could just imagine. So I made it with the dresses to the dressing room where I needed to go. And one of the girls actually got hurt. She got hurt. And my friend was like, oh, that's actually Dr. Dre. He's a doctor actually, right? And they had no idea because I was there like serving him, like helping him in his business. And I was just like, and I told him, I was like, do not tell anyone I'm a doctor. I'm just regular, like don't tell anyone that I'm a doctor. I'm just here helping you. That's it. And after they get dressed, I'm leaving. I'm done, right? But she got hurt, and my bestie was like, "Oh, this is Dr. Dre," and she was like, "What? The Dr. Dre?" And I helped her, and she became my first client. And because she said at that moment, because the way I was serving her, she was like, "Oh my God, I would love to work with you. I would love to be your patient. Like, what does that look like?" And I said, "Oh, I don't really know. We'll figure something out." And we did. So I came up with the membership medicine model, and that was my first client. I only do. So you have to know my patients. So if you come up to me, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to refer you to someone else. So you have to know them. And they will call me and tell me, oh, we have one of my friends needs this. Can you be her doctor? And then we'll get on the phone and talk and see if we're a good fit for each other. It's my life too. So I'm important in this model. So it's me too. It's not just about them. So we both want freedom. So I want freedom and the patient wants freedom, right? To call you whenever they want to. So we just have to make sure that we're a good fit so we can partner for their best care, basically.
Doctors wanting freedom. Some doctors feel like that's taboo to even desire that. They're so enmeshed in the model of medicine that's the average model these days. How can they take steps to acknowledge in themselves that, yes, they went into medicine to serve, yet they have to take care of themselves if they're going to serve well, and that freedom's a piece of that? Where do they start?
The first thing that they need to do is find their life's purpose. So, unfortunately, a lot of doctors have to go to therapy. We have to go to therapy because we have a lot of things that are buried. We have a lot of things that are buried within ourselves. A lot of times our families have told us no, and we've conditioned those things to be no, to be this doctor. We made a lot of sacrifices. So sometimes we have to go to therapy to really find out what happened. What's the block, and why can't we move forward? It's always something. For me, one of my money blocks was the fact that I used to get in trouble when I was a little kid for teaching people how to make money. So I had to overcome that because it was already conditioned that I shouldn't do those things with people that are older than me. I shouldn't talk to them in that kind of way because it's disrespectful. So a lot of even though I was young at the university, I wouldn't interact with the senior faculty a certain way because that would be disrespectful because I was trained in my brain to think that. Right?
Wow.
So that was one of my blocks that I had to actually go to therapy to figure out why I had that problem. And it all stemmed from my childhood. So once I got that taken care of, I decided that, yes, this is my purpose, which I knew it was. People were telling me, like, you're here to help people making profit. It was so easy for me. I knew that was my purpose. And that's why I challenge all the doctors who are listening today. I want you guys to really find your purpose. So let's go over the formula for finding your purpose. You must identify your gifts and your passions. So your gifts are things that you're really, really great at. It's what people are hiring you for. People come up to you all the time and ask you to do these things. Can you do this? Can you plan this event for me? Can you call this person for me? Can you connect me with this person? These are gifts. They're always coming up to you and asking you to do these things.
A friend of mine today had a really good description for gifts that I think you'll appreciate. He said that find areas where people struggle where for you it's play.
Yes, that's awesome. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So those are the gifts. So let's talk about the next one.
So passions would be like the things you like to do for fun. So if you were not getting paid for them, what would you like? Passion for you? For me, I actually liked helping people get to their next. I actually like seeing GYN patients. Like these are things that I want to do for free. So your purpose is a combination of your gifts and passions. So all you have to do is combine your gifts, 5 gifts, find out 5 gifts, write them down on a piece of paper, find out 5 passions and write them down on a piece of paper and combine them. That makes sense. Have 5 little crosses from a gift to a passion. And then one of those things would be your purpose.
Okay.
One of those things will be your purpose. And when you find that purpose, you're going to be so happy. You're going to be like, this is it. This is how I'm going to serve humanity. This is my legacy for my kids and my unborn children. This is what I'm going to leave to the world. You're going to be so happy, doctors out there. And, you're going to be super excited to get to your next, to amplify your personal power. It's so great when you can master your significance and you're like, this is what I'm supposed to do in this world. And this is my legacy for everyone. It's awesome. And waking up every day and living in your purpose, every day I wake up and I'm super happy. Every day when I wake up, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's another day. I'm blessed for another day. Let's do this. I'm going to coach this session. I'm going to do it. I look at my schedule, I'm super happy. I'm so excited, right? And that's the same feeling that I want for you. Because it's really about coming up with your purpose, learning how to monetize that and get to profit, making more profit outside the hospital, and turning that, what can you do to actually get freedom in what you're doing right now? So purpose, profit, freedom.
Okay. Now, Let's say somebody is in academics. Are there any particular challenges that they need to think about as they start developing their own brand name and think about bringing in, putting themselves in the limelight more so than the institution? Are there lessons you learned that you'd like to share?
Yes. Oh my God. Make sure you look at the employee handbook. So doctors, we don't look at employee handbooks because, we're like, we don't think we're employees, right? We have our contracts that we negotiate with Appendix A and B and C, D, F, and G. And we're like, we're lawyers, we're negotiating these contracts, but you're still an employee. So a lot of times in these employee handbooks, they have rules about doing media, rules about making money outside of the hospital. So you really need to pay attention to those things before you negotiate. So what I would say is have a clause in your contract that says, like, any money that you make outside of the hospital belongs to you. Any money that's made outside of the hospital belongs to you. And those things are usually in the employee handbook, not in your contract. So in your contract, it'll say things like a clause that says you must follow the employee handbook. One line, right? And you're like, I'm not an employee, whatever. Well, when you get in, or the faculty, let's say you're a faculty at a medical school, it'll say you cannot make any money outside of medical school. And you're just like, oh, okay, whatever, no big deal. Well, you never know what you're going to do in the world. You never know. If you're purposed, you're not going to be able to sleep until you do it.
Right. And even inventions, there's always that invention clause in an academic contract that if you get a patent or invent something while you're under the employ of that institution, then they have the rights to it. Well, most people, when they're signing that contract, they don't see themselves as inventors
super crazy
or patent holders. And yet you can easily wind up with an invention before you're out of academics. At least that's, my experience of 10 years with academics.
Yes, exactly. And I can ask any doctor, name a problem of your patients that you can solve. You're going to tell me the problem and you're going to know how to solve it. And that's your invention already. So you already are leaving money on the table. So those inventor clauses, media clauses, making money outside of the hospital, speaking on stages, like any of those things you need to negotiate and have those removed from your contract. And pay attention to the employee handbook. Pay it because you are an employee. When you sign on to a hospital, you are an employee. And actually the optimal thing to do is to sign on as a 1099, as a contractor.
Right.
So then you don't have to deal with any of that.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to know how to take care of your health care, your normal benefits if you choose to be an independent contractor, but so worth it.
Disability insurance.
That independence. Let's talk a little bit about the self-care again. You mentioned that you found yourself in a situation where you were falling asleep and you nearly died, you nearly got killed. What habits are helpful for doctors so they either avoid situations like that altogether or can get back on track so that they're living an amazing life?
So you need to set boundaries with patients and colleagues. So if you're junior faculty like I was, you really need to set boundaries with colleagues as well as your patients. So after you're done for the workday, don't bring any work home. Do not chart it at home. And I know we all do it. We all do electronic medical records at home. We all are checking results at home. We're all sending letters in the bed. Do not do that. So after you leave the office, leave your computer there. Don't bring your computer home. Leave your work laptop at work. That's number one. Okay? Folk, number one. That's huge. That's huge because the pressures of academic medicine, you're like, these administrators are calling you saying you didn't close this chart. You're 4 days behind closing it. We need these charges to drop. It's the last day of the month. We have to meet our budget goals. Putting all this pressure on you to perform, right? So after 5 o'clock, don't fall into that pressure. No, do not do it. Do not do it. Leave your laptop on. That is number one. Number two, you have to meditate every day. You have to clear your mind every day. Every day at 4:30, I meditate. You have to meditate. And that's really how I get clarity to move forward every single day. You must meditate. Number three, you have to do some type of exercise, whether it's walking around the office, walking around the hospital, hospital. I used to walk around the hospital on the top floor of the hospital that wasn't busy, so no one was there. It was just me walking around, right? So at least do that 30 minutes a day. And doctors, you know that 30 minutes a day of exercise, you have to do that. And when you exercise, your brain works better. So not only think about it changes your body, but your brain, you need your brain to work so you can make these clear decisions on finding your purpose and creating products and services to serve people, right? So you need that brain power. And the fourth thing I would say would be read non-medical things. Non-medical, okay? Read non-medical. And news can be so negative these days. Stay away from it. Stay away from it. So read something non-medical, stay away from the news, and then negativity, stay away. Then the last one would be stay away from negative people. So anyone that's negative, whether it's your colleagues or if it's a nurse in the hospital, whoever's negative, stay away from. So you have to have those boundaries. So don't bring any work home. Meditate, definitely meditate. Something with the mind. So something with the mind. Meditate. You have to eat right. I forgot that. Eat right. Don't fall to the cortisol trap and get your M&Ms and don't do it. I fall to the cortisol trap sometimes. I'm like, I have to have my M&Ms. Don't do it. Exercise, read non-medical stuff, and stay away from negative people.
I had the privilege of speaking at your last Momentum in Medicine live event, which was also the graduation ceremony for your first Medical Moguls. And I got to talk on podcasting, which is awesome. And I noticed that you were so precise about taking care of yourself as a public speaker and an entertainer and a performer at that event. And, you know, you're known for your media expertise. And I noticed that you also really treated your graduates special so that they got into that same habit and they looked their best and they felt their best. They felt awesome about themselves. How important is that when people are thinking about a media appearance?
You know, it is about the look. It is about the look unless you have the personality. So if you have the personality, that trumps the look every single time. So if you have a personality, you're always going to win, right? But it does help you to be a looker. So I always tell my students, look their best. You know, they have to hair and makeup needs to be done. They have to dress the best because you never know who's watching and who's listening, right?
That's
so
right.
It's all about the personality and the knowledge. However, when you're a looker, that always helps you get the deal too. So be cute, doctors.
That's right. You know, that whole triple threat thing, if you can use it, absolutely use every bit of the triple threat. So.
Your next step.
All right. So at the end of every show, I always make sure that people know what their next step is. And we've talked about becoming a medical mogul, really gaining more freedom from the degree you've worked so hard for and not killing yourself in your practice. You've given us the information about passion and purpose. And what is the next step?
The next step for you doctors that are listening is to say yes to you. This is your moment. This is your moment to step out into your greatness and monetize your medical degree and to walk in your purpose. This is the reason why Dr. Lori is to listen to the stories of other doctors and how they made it and what they're doing and they're growing their business. If you're listening, it's not by chance. If you're listening to Dr. Drai right now, it's not by chance. You were meant to be here. There's a divine purpose in everything we do. So for my biggest advice for you is to say yes to you for the first time. Don't put your family and friends over you. Don't put your patients over you. I just want you to say yes to you and actually listen to your heart, pray, listen to God, and get into action.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule, for stopping on the road to take the time and meet with us, both on video and audio here, so that people can know more and have hope that they didn't just waste their time, no matter how hard it seems right now, if you're in your residency or in med school, or maybe you're transitioning in your career and things are tough. There is light. You can monetize this, and it's all about saying yes to you, just like Dr. Drai said. Thank you so much, Dr. Drai.
Thank you, Dr. Lori. We love you.
I love you too. You're awesome.
There's more to explore at thedoctorsmentor.com.
Are you stopping at a hospital? Hello? Don't you know that hospitals are one of the sickest places on the planet? Don't touch anything in there and get out as fast as you can.